Welcome to the Nickolas Natali Show. Today we're going to be talking about discipline and how we can strengthen our willpower to get more done like it's a muscle. So, to kick things off, let's talk about understanding discipline. Discipline can get a bad rap when talked about in the wrong groups. I think most people that are maybe type A or have an easier time being self-motivated, discipline is par for the course. They're like, that's what I'm chasing. But in other contexts, I think that discipline can get a bad rep in the sense of it can be seen as self-denial or punishment, especially when taken to the extreme. But in reality, discipline is the art of self-control, and it's the key to unlocking everything that we want in life. That's a bold claim, but I think it's mostly true. At the very least, we've heard this phrase that discipline can equal freedom, and I think there is so much truth in that. So today we're going to redefine discipline and understand how it functions as a skill that can be developed rather than a trait that you either have or don't have. So there's many studies that show that willpower is like a muscle, and similar to how muscles grow stronger when they're in use, so does our ability to say no to things or no to immediate gratification while saying yes to something greater down the line. It's something that we can exercise, but it also is exhaustible. So similar to how we hear about decision fatigue, there is some of the willpower fatigue as well. Your ability to continue to rely on your willpower to do things can get worn down over time, and that's when discipline comes in. So how do we strengthen this muscle of discipline? One of the ways is to set clear goals. When you know what you're aiming for, it's easier to align your actions and then create routines that reinforce discipline daily, whether that's a workout or for students, scheduling a study time or having those dedicated moments of reflection. If you don't have a goal, you cannot run in the right direction. If you don't have an idea for the healthy habits that you want to develop day in and day out, it's going to be more difficult for you to obtain them. And this is cyclical. There's identity and there's action. So if your goal is to work out more and you want to take on the identity of somebody that works out more, so somebody that has the identity of that works out often, they work out. That's the action. And when you go and you work out, you reinforce that idea of you having that identity. So if you don't have that identity of being someone that works out now, but you say to yourself, I am an athlete, I am someone who works out, I am a healthy person. What do those types of people do? Well, they exercise. And then you go do that thing. And then after you do that thing, you tell yourself, either consciously or subconsciously, oh, I work out or I exercise. Therefore, I am a healthy person, or I am someone who works out, or I am an athlete. And that feeds into your identity. And that makes it easier over time for you to continually do the said habit that you're seeking to implement more. And over time, it becomes a form of discipline. So those days where you don't want to do it, well, that's who you are. So who you are does those things. So regardless of your feelings toward the action, you're going to go do it. Or you have a higher likelihood of doing it because it's innately who you are, at least now that you've trained yourself to be that way. You might not be that way right out of the gate, but as you reinforce those identity traits, it becomes easier. And there's a common challenge that everybody faces when it comes to creating discipline in our lives. One of them is, well, it's twofold. One of them is you simply don't want to do it, as I've mentioned, and that's where the art of developing your identity to become the person that does those things really helps, because it detaches your feelings from the actions. And then if your goals align with those actions, it's easier to pair. So a common issue that comes up is you might feel overwhelmed by the size of your goals. And the trick here is to break them down into smaller, more manageable tasks. And then remember that discipline is built day by day, one small decision at a time. It's not the big grandiose things that really make a huge difference. It's that 1% better every day mindset, where the small tasks of maybe you set things up, and here we'll talk about habit triggers just briefly, or habit stacking, I should say. If you already have a habit that's created, let's say it's creating you're making your morning coffee. Every morning you wake up, you're like, ooh, this is my thing. I do it no matter what. The next thing that you can do, since this habit is already formed, you can stack a habit. So since my coffee's made, maybe the next thing I do is prep my gym bag. And then if my gym bag's prepped, the next thing I do is I get in my car and I go to the gym. If you can identify habits that are already formed that you can use as triggers to increase the likelihood that you're going to do a new habit or discipline that you'd like to take on, it helps you adapt things easier because it's already becoming part of your routine. It's not saying, hey, there's no trigger here. There's nothing even remotely related to my routine. I'm just going to go try to jump and have this thing be part of my day out of left field. I'm not going to have it incorporated anywhere that's already working. I'm going to just try to splice it in somewhere new. Besides the point, back to goals. Goals are great, and I could do a whole other episode on goals if this is of interest to you. However, we've heard of SMART goals, where it's specific, measurable, realistic, and then time-based. Don't ask me what the A is. I'm sure it probably means accurate, but essentially just having these things jotted down to make sure that you can actually do these things, which is very important. How I like to frame goals is who, what, why, when, and how. Essentially, who's going to do it, you're going to do it, when are you going to do it by, why are you doing it, which is arguably the most important thing, and then how are you going to do it? Can you reverse engineer the steps to get you to that final outcome? And as you know, since I mentioned the identity base earlier, it's not necessarily about the outcome itself, depending on the goal. It's more about who you become during that phase so you can repeat it forever, for the rest of your life. Hopefully you'd like to be a healthy person for the rest of your life, or a financially conscious person for the rest of your life, because those benefits are lasting. I want to say everlasting, but we all have a time stamp on our lives at some point. Can I get an amen? One story that I wanted to mention is in regards to the overwhelm of big goals. I had a conversation recently. Someone asked me about a specific goal that I had, and I told them this big, lofty goal. And I was serious about it. But then they asked me, what are the odds that you actually accomplish that goal? And I thought about it. I really sat on it. And I said, probably 1 in 1,000. And that was the honest truth. And they said, sounds like you probably chose the wrong goal. Choosing the right goals is also super important. And maybe it's not necessarily that I chose the wrong goal or that the goal was too big. It could have been that the time was too short to achieve such a goal. Those are things to consider too, which ultimately circles back to, is it realistic? So breaking things down into smaller chunks is really important in order to be able to accomplish said things. Now, turning back into the discipline category, there are great tools, technologies that can help you achieve your goals of becoming more disciplined. And we haven't even touched on mindset yet, but in regards to technology, there's tons of apps out there that can help you with virtually any type of goal that you have. However, what I wanted to say, and this is a point that Jordan Armstrong made in our episode not too long ago, was that what you track improves. And that's true. There's nothing that you can do that if you tracked it on a regular basis with the intention to improvement over a long enough time horizon where you would not improve on that thing. I would say it's darn near impossible. And I'll give you 2 examples. One where I was tracking something, and then one where I'm tracking something now. So right now, I am cutting. I'm on a cut. I bulked for a while, and now I'm trimming down, trying to lean up. And how I have been able to see results that I am happy with and in tune with the goals that I have is twofold. I track my caloric intake every day in addition to my macros. So every day I track what I eat. I use an app where I write what I ate. It already has a metric bar at the top of how much protein I've eaten based on that food, the carbs, the fats, and I have goals for each of those too. And then there's a big calorie guy at the top. What I've eaten gets subtracted from the caloric, the calorie amount that I'm aiming for per day. And each day, I'm tracking those things. I'm tracking what food I'm eating. I'm seeing if I'm hitting my protein goal, and that is daily. I am constantly having this thing top of mind, and I'm tracking the food that goes in my body. And that's been super helpful. And I've paired that also with the habit of weighing myself every morning so I can see an average over the course of a week how much weight I've lost or haven't lost. Because these are top of mind and because I'm tracking these things and I can actually see week over week, day over day, how things are being impacted, there has been improvement. Not only that, when I am tracking calories and macros, I can also see what type of food that I'm eating, which has other benefits too. So tracking at the granular level like that has caused me to improve. I've been doing this since July, and right now it's November, and there's been clear progress, which has been very nice. The other thing, I had an issue a while back where I was concerned about where my time was going, and I was doing a time audit. So every 30 minutes to an hour, I was jotting down what I did with that 30 minutes to an hour block, and I would do that every day. I would review what I did that day at the bottom of after the day had ended, and then over the course of a week, I would go back and I would see what's taking up the most of my time, and is that the best use of my time, and then I could reallocate that week over week. I did that for about 6 months until I felt like I finally cracked the code on this is where I've been wasting my time, and this is where I can get the most out of my time, and I could reallocate what I was spending my time on. And that was improvement over time. Essentially, the point being intentional about what you're tracking, especially the things that you want to improve. And it could be as simple as your daily to-do list, having a planner, or even what I did when I was tracking my habits was putting a 1 or a 0. Did I do the thing that I wanted to do today or not? And then you can look over the course of a month. How many days did I work out? How many days did I do that Duolingo Spanish lesson that I said I was going to do? I could see, and I could attach a percentage of I've completed X amount of days out of the total days for a month, and I could use that as a likelihood that I would do it for the next month, which goes back to the identity thing. If there's a 90% chance that I'm going to do my workouts every day, it's likely that I've become that person, or I'm on track of becoming that person of being healthy. There you go. I wanted to mention that. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on was our mindset around discipline. Definitely don't view this episode as a reason to think smaller, try to achieve the smaller thing. I think it's wonderful to have big goals. I think it's a necessity, because what is life if not for the passion or pursuits that we have? We have the capability, and this is coming straight from my bias and my mindset, we can accomplish anything. I truly believe that. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, you believe that too. The difference is, when you wake up on a Monday morning, do you have the mindset that this could be the best week of my life? I'm guilty of this, and that's why I'm trying to reframe things too. Every single week has the possibility of becoming the best week of your life. It's true. It also requires you to be locked in and nailing all of the little things throughout your day in order to make sure that it happens. So when it comes to your business, you could be landing 6 clients, 7 clients, 20 clients. Depends on how many calls you want to do this week. That's totally up to you. And I also think we fall to our training. We default to what we're accustomed to, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to level up this week. I'm going to push the limit, doing that week over week, because I want the big thing. And I may have this smaller, more attainable goal at the forefront, but I'm going to do my best to push to exceed it, right? Like, I'm going to meet that without a doubt, but I'm also going to have the mindset that more is to come. Essentially, all in all, live with hope. Live with the idea that good things can happen to you, that good things are going to happen to you, and allow yourself to believe that there's greater things out there for you. I think as an adult, we often get jaded. As a kid, you ask them what they want to be when they grow up. They say Spider-Man. All the adults say, hell yeah, you can be Spider-Man. But then they look at their own lives and they don't have the same big grandiose beliefs. Obviously, you see the correlation that I'm trying to make here, that a child's ability to dream is so pertinent right out of the gate. And somewhere down the line, we lose that sense of dreaming, and we tell ourselves that things can't happen for us, which is just certainly not true. There's countless examples of this. Don't even get me started. CEO of KFC started that KFC franchise late in life. I even saw the other day that Ricky Gervais, the British actor, I saw that he had a gap in his employment in his mid-30s, and he was like, well, I have 6 months to try to become a comedian. Look at that. Anything can happen. There's only so many rules to life, so don't impose new ones on yourself that are only going to hold you back from actually trying. Maybe it's out of fear. Jesse Itzler has this great mindset around embarrassment. It's okay to be embarrassed, but it's not okay to let the fear of embarrassment prevent you from trying something that you want to do. I'm a firm believer in that. Anyway, thank you for joining me on the Nickolas Natali Show. Remember that discipline is more than just a rigid structure. It is a gateway to freedom. Everything that you want is on the other side of pursuing discipline. It allows us to live the lives we dream about. So here's to building stronger willpower and transforming our lives one disciplined step at a time. See you next Friday at 6 a.m. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to this. And if you're watching on YouTube, comment down below. What do you think of the fit? You don't have to comment that, but hey, it'd be nice if you did, right? Keep striving for more, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye.